Alright, hey guys, this is BigTurboTV. We're going to be looking at putting in the FactionFab Shift Stop in the 2019 WRX. I already got mine put in here, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like put in, and then I'll kind of mimic the process of installing it. So the first step is, let's just put it in neutral. And then we got to take this boot off, so you can go up into one of the corners and kind of just pry it up. Kind of like that, and then once you get the one side up, just go around it. And you're also going to need to take off the shifter knob. Once we get all that off, should be able to just pull this right up. Alright, perfect. So you can see I already got mine in here. So this on the left here is the FactionFab Shift Stop, and then if you see on the right, you got the stock one that came in here as well. When I opened this up, the stock one was kind of tilted a little bit. I don't know if the previous owner had messed with it, but when you tried to shift into fifth, it would kind of jam up, like he had it pushed in too far or pushed out too far or something. So anyway, when I was adjusting, or when I was putting in the FactionFab one, I kind of just adjusted that one too. So basically, once you get all this out, you're gonna need a 10mm to get the bolts that are stock right here out, holding in the stock shift stop. So you'll just take those out, and then once you get those out, you want to place your shift stop, whatever brand it is, they're all kind of similar. You place that on top of the stock one, and then if it has washers or anything, some of them have washers they want to put in between or on top, so put those in. This didn't have any washers or anything. Then you just put these bolts back in, so it goes through the top and the bottom. So now you're gonna have the bottom shift stop sandwiched underneath the top shift stop. So yeah, you just want to get those tightened down by hand. And then once you get those tightened down by hand, you want to be able to, so you can still kind of wiggle them around a little bit. And because you're going to need to place these into the right spot. So, or kind of like calibrate it. So to do that, you want to have them just a little bit loose to where you can move them. And then you want to start shifting into gear. So you can go into first, make sure you can get into first. And then they say you want to give like a little bit of wiggle room too. So you see how you can move it just a little bit, but you don't want to have a whole bunch of slop, because that's what we're kind of trying to fix. So once you got that, make sure you can go into second. And the same thing, make sure you have a little bit of wiggle room, not too much. And then once you got that, you can start tightening it down a little bit. But the other thing you got to be careful of is when you're tightening it, these tend to move on either side. So you kind of either got to hold them down or just go really slow and make sure that they're not moving too much. The way I did it is I kind of just slowly tightened it, and then I would put it back, check the other side, tighten it a little bit more, put it back, check the other side, and I just kept going back and forth until eventually it was tight enough. So I've been driving around with it for a little bit now. It feels really good compared to the stock stop, how it was. I also had to adjust this a little bit. You can't really see it here, but when I opened this up, there was a bunch of, it looked all worn down over here on the 6th gear spot, like it was kind of tilted or something. And there were a few times where I went to go shift into 5th before I put this in. There were a few times where I went to go shift into 5th and it just like wouldn't go in, or it was really hard to get in. And I found out when I was adjusting these, calibrating the position, if you have this too far over to the right and you try to shift by, if you're too far over, you can't get into 5th. It'll still let you get into 6th for some reason, but if you're too far over, you can't get into 5th. So you got to make sure that this stop, when you're adjusting all these, you got to make sure you don't push this too far over. Because when I initially was putting all this stuff in, I also set it up to where I was able to get into 6th, but I couldn't get into 5th. And it was just because, for some reason, the way that this was set up, there's a little bit more slack on 6th, but 5th, it's like really tight. You gotta just get it right on the spot. And so once you got it in position, you can tighten this down with the Allen. And I'm just gonna tighten mine down a little bit more since I know that this is in a good position. Here, actually. Or you want to make sure these are tightened down perfectly, because you don't want any of this stuff coming loose when you're driving around. So you got those down. Now I'm going to put the boot back on, put the shift knob back on, and then we'll go drive around a little bit. Yeah, also, another thing you want to do before you actually start driving off and before you tighten everything down and torque everything down, you want to make sure that you can get into all the gears safely. So just go through, all of them. You want to make sure you can get into everything. You got 5th, 6th. Make sure you can get into your reverse too. Just do that a few times. Make sure you got enough room. There's no weird angles or anything that you're going to get caught on. And then once you got that taken care of, you can go ahead and tighten it down. Alright, so we're just going to drive around a little bit. See, you guys probably won't be able to notice too much of a difference, but notice right away, just when I first put it in, you could really feel in that 1st to 2nd, it just feels a lot tighter. Third to 4th, pretty much going to feel the same. Those aren't really going to change at all. I might get the short shifter eventually, but for now, this seems to be helping out a lot. I noticed right away when you're shifting the 1st and 2nd, it just feels so much tighter. It's just kind of you're going to go into the right gear. You're not kind of guessing. Another thing is, since you're calibrating it, you know that when you're pushing it over, you're not pushing it into the wrong gear. If you're pushing it, or you're not pushing it too far out of the gear, I should say. Because before with the stock shift stop on the right side, there was a few times where I would shift and I'd be going into 5th gear or something. And because the shift stop was all messed up and it was pushed over too far, when I would go into that gear, I wouldn't actually be pushed into that gear. It would just be pushing me too far over. So when I would go to push the shifter into 5th gear, it would be too far over and it wouldn't let me in. So I've calibrated it now, I've fixed it so that when you push it all the way over in 5th, you know you're going into 5th and it'll let you in. It's not going to be, you're not going to be too far pushed over or anything. And it's that way with 1st and 2nd out too. I mean, I never had any issues in 1st or 2nd where I pushed it too far over and it wouldn't let me in. But now I know it's tightened down and everything. So I know I can get into all the gears. And I know I can get into 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. so I'll go into 5th now just to show you guys. See, now you know you can push it all the way over. You know you're in 5th. There was no resistance or anything like that. You know, I know I was right in gear. So yeah, it feels really good. You know, I've had it in here maybe like a week or two now. It's felt great the whole time. You know, I haven't had any issues or anything like that. Feels a lot better than the stock one did. So yeah, I definitely recommend this. I know they have different kinds and different brands. I'm assuming they're pretty much all the same. I know you can get some cheaper ones on like Amazon and eBay. I did hear, or I did see in one video somewhere that someone had an issue with one of the eBay ones, kind of like rubbing, or you know, it's kind of like falling apart on that after having it in the car for a little bit. So maybe watch out for those, but as long as you're checking out the reviews and everything, you should be pretty good. The one I got again is the FactionFab one. It's pretty solid. I know they have like a Perrin one. I don't know if they have like a Grimspeed one, but anyway, this is BigTurboTV. We're gonna have more videos coming up. I also got the FactionFab coilover, so I'll probably have to be doing a video on those pretty soon.